Hey, what's up? DJ Sue here with a quick video on MPC 3.0. Long awaited public beta is now available for everybody. I got on in the public beta with most of y'all. I don't have any special privileges to get the early ones, so I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. There's a lot that I really like about MPC 3.0 changes, but there's a lot that I really don't like and kind of preferred the old way. And then there's a lot that I'm just trying to figure out how to adapt my old workflow and my old mentality to fit into the new workflow that they've introduced for 3.0. So one of the biggest complaints that I have and lots of other people have, you could just look at the forums and see people complaining about this, is track mute and how track mutes work in 3.0 versus 2.15. Now, the biggest change was that on 2.15, you could choose between setting the track mutes to audio mutes or to MIDI mutes. So for those that don't know the difference, an audio mute is if you're playing some audio. I'm going to flip to my boom bap kit. So I've got this long sample. As soon as I hit mute, it cuts the audio off. So it's kind of like a mute on a mixer. And when I unmute, it comes back. The other option is MIDI note mute. And what that does is when you hit the mute on the track mute, it mutes any subsequent MIDI notes that are in your arrangement, in your sequencer, in your grid, or that you even attempt to play. But if you had a long audio sample like this playing, it would let that sample play out till the end before muting. And that's what they kind of took out of 3.0. And that's kind of pissed a lot of people off. And that kind of functionality is something that people like to do when they're live performing. Several layers, and they go into track mute and they bring things in and out. And they have, for instance, some long samples they want to be able to mute after the sample triggers, but they don't want the audio to cut off until the sample finishes playing. So that's currently gone in 3.0. Now, Akai knows that a lot of people are unhappy about that, and it sounds like they're going to bring it back in. Who knows when that's going to happen? Who knows when we're going to get another build to test on? Right now, this is what we have, and a lot of people are unhappy. But I have found a workaround that brings back the old functionality that we all knew and loved. And I'm going to show you how to do it. It's actually quite simple. It's not as simple as 2.15 where you just flipped a switch in the preferences, but it's just a couple steps removed. So first thing we're going to do is create a new track. And then we're going to choose a MIDI program. Now this is just a blank MIDI program. It doesn't produce any audio or anything like that. It's simply transmitting MIDI data. You can use this to sequence external synths. That's what I use it mostly for. But you can also use it to sequence internal synths and internal programs. So what we're going to do is open it up, and we're going to be on the I/O tab right here. And a few ones down, there's send to. And we can choose which program to send to, which is Boom Bap Kit. Now you can also set that up in the mixer view in the I/O tab, and it's right there. So a couple more things we need to do, but that's about it. The next thing is we want to go into Pad Perform, and we need to set a few things up. First off, you need to be in C as your root note, because that'll make Pad 1 C. The next thing you want to be in is chromatic, so you're not on notes or chords. The final thing is you want to make sure you're on C1 as your root note. So when you're on bank A, you want to adjust this. So right now I have it on C0 right over here. I'm going to adjust this up until bank A is set to C1, because C1 is what drum programs have as their lowest note. So once that's all set up, I'm just going to play some notes, and it's going to play back exactly what plays on Boom Bap Kit 1. Right? And that's the MIDI program, and this is the original program. You'll notice that on MIDI notes you don't get any of the samples because all this is triggering this. But now I can trigger a long sample like this one, and then I can go in and mute this MIDI program, and the sample keeps playing, but nothing else plays after the fact. And that's exactly how it functioned in the past. So there you go. That's basically it. So of course it's not ideal because essentially you have to have 2 tracks. You can't just be running 1 track. And people use a lot of external gear and they route the audio back in the MPC, can understand, because we've been doing that forever. We've had a MIDI track and then an audio track to have the audio return. So now you kind of have to do that even for this functionality internally, but it's there. The other minus about it is you can't solo. I soloed my mic too. You can't solo just the MIDI track because the audio track won't play. So you have to go into your preferences, go into sequencer, and where it says solo behavior, usually defaults to single, which solos 1 track at a time. But when you set it to multi, you can solo multiple tracks at a time. And then when you're on the MIDI track, you'll be able to play the notes and hear the notes. So that's it. Basically, you've got that old functionality. You just have to figure out the best way to arrange it the way you want. You probably want to rename this drum MIDI. But yeah, you've got it. You've got that functionality back. And yeah, have at it. All right. Peace.